guys, before we jump straight in, because I'm going to jump straight in, we're just going to briefly go over the last few weeks, because we've had the gap and we had Huck and Hold in the midst of it, and I know that sometimes I go, when was that week? What was that week? So, the first week was Phil talking about me, you, us, and he was talking about you've got to fix yourself, so me, before I can give you something worthy, you, so we can become an awesome little us unit. So that was first week. Then the second week was talking about boundaries and how to start setting boundaries in relationships. Not just boy-girls, but your friendships and, potentially parents and stuff as well. And then Taylor had this awesome one around the layers of dirt and the filters and all the pretty little people standing up the front. Did we remember that one? Yeah. It was really, really cool. About discovering you and talking about how to make sure you have a really solid foundation to be able to build upon that. So tonight, I'm so excited that I get to actually share with you some of the journey and actual learnings that I've been doing around my own settling for journey. So I'm jumping straight in. So what I want to know, and what I always ask myself is, what is your dominant story? What do I mean by that? What is the story you tell others? What is it that do you have a particular story? So when someone says, hi, how are you? You go, oh, I'm good, but, or, yeah, my life is crap right now. This is going on, that's going on. How many of you have that friend that does that? Just raise hands. Well, alright. I have that friend. I've probably had a few of those friends actually, but I know a recent one that I actually had to let go of. Whenever I always started dreading that, hey, how are you question, because I knew that there was never going to be anything that I want to actually hear positive out of that. It's always, I hate my job, I hate my life, this isn't going right, I have no money, yet I'm going on a holiday next week. And I can't seem to keep a boyfriend, all those kind of things. I nearly went into that awesome moment of going, oh, is that me reflecting that? Or is it, no, it's that person can't just, that's their dominant story. And so over time, I sort of sink away a little bit and walk back. And slowly I feel drained. I feel exhausted every time I speak to that person. I could be speaking to them on Facebook and I feel really, really drained. I'm like, oh man, they just offloaded all that. Yep, I'm done, I'm wiped. So when I asked that question of, how many of you have that friends, one of you actually said, I'm that person. You might be that person. Have you ever actually asked yourself that question? Am I that person? Does my story that I tell people actually start draining them? If my relationships are dwindling, is that why? It was interesting for me this week, or in the last couple of weeks, when I was starting to do my prep for this particular topic tonight. I actually had these questions that I sent out to for about 4 different people that I wanted to get their honest feedback about. What's the dominant story they hear from me? Those very similar questions. Why is it we're still friends? If I present those questions, those whole stories there, and when I got a couple of them back, it wasn't what I expected. There was a lot of affirmation in there. There was a lot of good stuff. I don't really know your story, so I can't really comment. It was no, I don't think that I actually really know you, but I think you're awesome and I think you inspire. So then it made me sort of think, oh, hang on, my expectation was I still have this sob story that I go around telling people, and that I actually place this on people, and the feedback that's coming back it's not that. So I actually had to struggle. I actually realised that I created my own settling for moment there, that I was settling for my sob story like I always do. It's my fallback, here's what happened to me 16 years ago. And yet I'm not that same person that I was 16 years ago. So my dominant story has actually changed. And I hadn't actually realised that until 2 of those people actually pointed that out to me. And so that was a really really, really cool moment for me. But what is it when, it did make me realise that is, what do we look for when we're telling our dominant story? So we have the friend that may burn us with their story all the time, and we are that person. What are you looking for? What are they looking for? Could it be love, value, acceptance, belonging? That's why they're trying to find a story that makes them feel like they fit in to your world, that you're going to love them, value them, accept them for who they are. One of those awesome little questions. So what we tell each other can be very, very different to what we tell ourselves. So my question is now, what is your dominant story that you tell yourself? So when you're lying in bed and you're about to go to sleep, what is that story that you keep telling about yourself? Not about what other people do, what you tell yourself. What messages do you tell yourself? Could it be something along that I'm not good enough? I'm not strong enough? I'm just not enough? Where do you get these messages from? Why do you keep telling yourself this story? What does it actually give you? Why do you believe it? In our world, I've learnt this saying, prerequisites or criteria. Especially in high school, you've got to have this certain amount of things, or a job. You've got to have a certain key criteria that you can get in a job. We create that with our own worthiness. I'll be worthy of those shoes when I get a job that can pay for those. But until then, I'm not worthy of those. I'll be worthy of someone's love when I go on a date and I give them myself completely. I'll say I love you, and that means I'm worthy. I'll go on a date, and I'll say I love you straight away, because that means that then I'm worthy to hear it back. We create this criteria for ourselves. We think that if we reach this certain level, then we're worthy of something. But when we don't reach those, then we set ourselves that level of, we give up. We settle for easy. We settle for something that's a little less scary, a little less hurtful. Because we feel like we don't ever going to reach that level, so why try? And that dominant story you tell yourself at night is the one that keeps you there. And the interesting part is, regardless of what we tell ourselves, our worthiness lives inside our stories. It's that love, value, acceptance, belonging. So the ones you tell others, that's you searching for your worthiness. The one you tell at night, that's you trying to still search for your worthiness. And there is an opportunity to stop settling, and actually begins now. Over the weekend, I was listening to this awesome audiobook called The Power of Vulnerability. Yeah, it's a scary one, it's awesome. By this person, Dr. Brené Brown. And there was this one particular quote or statement that just kept coming back to me over and over again. And I think I wrote it multiple times throughout my asset. It just hit me that hard. It was, we walk into the stories of our lives and own them, or stand on the outside of your stories and hustle for worthiness. I love that quote because it tells me that I can own my own story. I can take responsibility and say, you know what, that happened to me. That's where something happened to me. 15 years ago, my old man walked out. That happened. That's real. But what I choose to do with that now is I can be the victim still, or I can go, you know what, I'm actually made some really awesome life choices since then. And I'm going to be more of a worthy person here because I can actually impact someone else. And I love that quote for it, because you can choose to either stand on the outside and say that's not, that's my story, but it's actually not me. And you'll forever chase your worth. Is what that last bit, the hustle of the worthiness. You're going to forever chase. It's like dogs chasing their tails. They're always going to try, they're never actually going to achieve it. So how do we do this? Where do we start? For the last 15 months, I've actually been in a counselling journey for myself. I've been seeing a counsellor regularly over some of my journey of settling for over the different things. And there was this one activity that I hated more than anything in the whole counselling experience that I've ever done, but it was the most impactful and life-changing thing that I've ever done for myself too. And it was when I started unpacking the uns. I had to sit in front of a mirror, something like this, and look at myself, really look at myself. How many of you are finding it really difficult to look at the mirror right now? Yeah, right? It's uncomfortable, even just glancing at it. When I was being challenged around all my self-worth and around where I was looking for that, my doubts around who I was as a person, who was in that moment, my counsellor came back to me and goes, Nat, I'm going to ask you to do something. It's a practical thing, but it's a painful thing. And I'm like, okay, what is it? I'm not signing up until I know what it is first. And I said, you have to sit in front of the mirror for an hour. I went, an hour? What? Why would I do that? I said, I don't even hardly wear makeup half the time, man. Like, come on. And he goes, no, you need to. And you need to actually look at yourself. Just look at yourself. And then I want you to write down everything that you don't like about yourself. So some of those things that I wrote down weren't necessarily just what I don't like about myself, but also what I felt about myself. And some of those words, and you may resonate with some of these: unwanted, unloved, unimportant, unlovable, unworthy, unattractive, unseen, unacceptable, unforgivable, and untrue. A lot of that stems back from 15 years ago, from my dad. You know, in there I've got unloved and unlovable. They're two very different things. One is I don't think I can be loved, and one I didn't think I was loved. So, they were really powerful stuff. I was a mess for weeks after that. I tried to avoid mirrors after that too, because every time then I saw, it was those words. I kept seeing those words. It wasn't until I had my next counselling session, he goes, how'd you go? I really wanted to just find a mirror and pick it up and throw it in at that point and say, you do it. But we started talking about where do these messages come from. And these are the messages I tell myself, or I told myself at night. You know, there would be something in my day that had nothing to do with anything that went on, and it might be someone didn't answer my text message. I'm unwanted. You know, somebody, you know, might come along and, you know, a boy, because they were always trouble for me, you know, might come along and said, nah, this isn't working out. Unloved, unlovable, unattractive. You know, I didn't get a position at work. I'm unworthy. I'm unimportant. Have a fight with mum, and you know, it might be something going, well, I just didn't think of you. I'm unseen. All these things all of a sudden were day to day, and it was the message I was telling myself at night. And then the dominant story I was telling everyone else was a bitter one, you know, or yeah, no, I'm fine. We know that phrase really well. After I unpacking the uns, it doesn't just happen and stop. Like, I've unpacked them, and you know, for the most part I can go, yep, I'm okay. But there's days where I go, oh, that's one of those moments. I'm feeling like, yep, I feel like I'm unimportant right now. Why? And then I have to actually take a step back, or I have to find someone to talk to about it. The other step that I had to do was give up the story. So the last one I said in the uns was untrue. I had to give up that negative truth that I put in myself. It wasn't true. It was the untruth. You know, that lie that I told myself that I was all these things and I'm not. And that was really hard to do. That meant it felt like I had to give up all that 15 years of stuff that I went through. You know, that's not important. It is still important, but it's not where I want to be. It's not the person I want to be. And it's not the only thing I want to be known as. So I had to put in the hard truth of that. I'm Nat, and I'm a daddyless daughter. That was the statement. Doesn't mean I'm unloved. Just means that I was daddyless. And I owned that. And when I started owning that, I could actually see different things for myself. So I went to school. I started going to school now. I felt like I could do that. Funny enough, I'm studying counselling. Go figure. One of the other parts is that once with the unpacking the uns, it led me to forgiving myself. Forgiving myself and it's one of those things, it doesn't happen and that's it. You forgive yourself on a daily basis. You have to. You're going to slip up, you're going to make mistakes. That's the beauty of us being human. We get to make mistakes, we get to learn from them if we choose to. So you have to forgive yourself for those lies that you put in your head continuously every night, and the ones you put in your heart. So the power of unpacking the uns leads to the power of owning your own story. So I said before, you can walk into your stories and own them, or you can stand on the outside and continue to hustle for worthiness. It's so true. Like, I sit here and look now, I'm a book reader, so stories is something that I love. And I love the fact that mine's not yet finished or written. And that's the power of owning my story. I get to now decide that I get to write it and how it goes. So when we own our stories, we get to write the ending. We get to become the narrator instead of the subject. And as I said before too, stories are powerful. And owning yours will now allow you to also walk in and have someone listen when they earn that right. So instead of walking up to different people when you talk about your own dominant story to others, you're not just going around sharing everything with everyone. You're going to pick the people that earn the right. And the ones that you know can bear the weight. So they can help you further. I'm going to ask a couple of leaders just to come up. I've actually got here, just to help, I've got a little compact mirror, which is really, really cool. Alright, just as a reminder to sometimes take that look. They're just down here. And on the back I've put a little quote, and it says, "Dear me, make peace with the mirror and watch your reflection change." That's what I had to do when I started unpacking my uns. I had to actually make peace with the mirror. So I was looking back at the person, and that was me. And I was looking at all the stuff that I hadn't yet dealt with, to all the stuff that I haven't yet achieved either. And now I look into the mirror, and I can actually smile in it. I'm not so scared of it anymore. So much so we have 3 in our bathroom back home. So I'm going to challenge you guys to make the choice to walk into your own stories and own them, and start with unpacking your uns. Because when you do, then you can look and you'll see the change in your reflection. That's it, guys. We're going to head into packs now.